Welcome to the Scale Model Geek, and this week I'm doing a Star Wars and Hellboy mashup. The Star Wars character I'm using is called Wrecker, and he's from the TV series The Bad Batch. And of course Hellboy is in there. Now I removed the original head and replaced it with Hellboy's head, and this is his arm, a combination of the two arms. And I'm just using this piece of software called Blender to combine the two. And of course his red tail. Not red yet, but it will be. Now off camera I've already sanded him down and filled up all the holes that I needed to fill, and given a bit of an undercoat as well. I think I'll call this character Hellwrecker, and he is 1/6 scale. My first job was to paint on the inside of the armor, and this was actually a little bit difficult to do. To sort out that problem, I just bent the brush, and this worked out really well. I was able to get into some really tight corners there. Now for the base color of his face, I'm just using this red, and just a nice even coat. In my wisdom, while I was doing the 3D files in Blender, I thought I'd do the head and the body as one piece, and yeah, that wasn't a very good idea. So I'm using this white grey to create the eyes. Now I tend to use an off-white because white will be too stark. Now Hellboy has these really funny coloured eyes, so I'm using the orange fire to do the outline of the pupil. Then to the center of it, some of this sun yellow. And what I like doing at this stage of the process is basically just blocking the main colors. Onto the beard, and just using a black. Not forgetting his goatee. This barbarian flesh for his horns. I almost used a version with his full horns on his head too. Now this dark flesh tone for his cigar. Back onto the red, with a combination of the flat yellow. Some of this saddle brown. And finally some of this glaze medium. I'll be using a combination of all those to create my different tones for his face. And all I'm doing is creating a really thin wash to go over his certain areas of the face, like the bridge of his nose, around his nostrils. And I'm just mixing the colours to suit as I go along. And some of the darker tones with the brown underneath his nose. This panzer grey for his hair, and just dry brushing it. And the light sand for the horns. It needs a bit more depth to it, so I'm adding this accent colour, the deep brown from Tamiya. And this really adds a nice dimension to it, as you can see. Face is looking great. Of course we've got to mask him up. And you can see there's a bit of a gloss to the actual figure. That's hairspray, because I'll be using that method for chipping. So I'm doing a base coat of this dark sea grey from Vallejo. Nice even coat. Unfortunately the backpack actually cracked, and I think that's because I put too much of a thick coat of the hairspray on the backpack. But once I've got a nice even coat of the dark sea grey, it's just a matter of adding a bit of water and then chipping it away as it softens. And this is the first time I've ever done this technique, so as always I'm a bit hesitant when I go in and slowly build up my confidence. And I use different tools, a toothpick there, and now this is a pen cap. And a makeup brush. This is for eyelashes that I swiped off my girlfriend. she doesn't know yet, so hopefully she won't see this video. After I'd finished the chipping, I also gave it a bit of a dusting of the original dark sea grey just to soften the contrast between the two colours. And it's come up really well. I'm very happy with that. Now a quick gloss. This is for the decals. Now I made some custom decals that I designed up in Photoshop. And for the decals to actually stick properly, you need to have a bit of a gloss finish. Now these are some designs I found actually on the internet and did some modifications to suit my needs. There's plenty of references on there if you search for the Bad Batch. And once I had printed them onto some decal paper, it was a matter of cutting it out very finely with a really sharp new X-Acto knife. And after a bit of dipping for 30 seconds in water, just slid it off onto the arm. Now these are some stripes I had left over when I did the Pacific Rim diorama. Now I'm using some of this mark softener, and basically that softens the deco so I can actually conform it to the curve of the armour. If you haven't yet, smash that like button and support the channel by subscribing. It will be greatly appreciated. And there's all the decals done on the body. Now some of the areas that were way too fine to cut out, I just went over with the dark sea grey and just filled up some of the gaps with a very fine brush. Really happy with that, came up really well, looks really cool. And once the decals had all dried, I gave it a blast of clear flat, and also a lot of the black areas I painted in off camera. And now to really pop out some more of the details, I'm using some of this light grey from Vallejo. Dry brushing is such an awesome and simple technique, it really brings out a lot of detail. Some of these pans are grey, now I'm going to dry brush all those black areas. And of course we need to do Hellwrecker's arm. That's also red. And to add a bit more contrast, I'm using this black wash from Vallejo. And my super duper bent brush. To dab up some of the excess, I use that makeup sponge. Really cheap, you can buy like 50 of them for 10 bucks. And now for the weapon, I'm using this gunmetal as the base dry brush. And then some of the edges I hit with this light metal. And I'm just hitting some edges at random. No plan. It's got a beautiful little metallic finish to it. And to dry brush the red areas, as in the arm, some of this vermilion. And there we have it, all the components ready to be assembled. First things first, a big reveal. After all that, hopefully I haven't damaged the face. Oh yeah, look at that. It worked. Nice. Super glue does the trick to put all the pieces together. I've got to say, I had a lot of fun creating this unique one-of-a-kind character. And if you want to see me do some more, let me know in the comments. And maybe leave me some ideas as well. At 1/6 scale, it's a pretty big figure. I'm really happy with the way this mashup turned out, so I think let's head over to the hero images.